you've had a night to sleep on it. I know you're a guy that respects the game very much. And last night, when you took out Jalen in a close game, I think you're aware that it sent a message kind of across the league. I think Eagles fans were upset about it, but I think football fans were upset about what it said. Can you speak to that now that you've slept on it a little bit about, the message that maybe that sent and the perception that people had about the way that the game panned out?
I've thought about that quite a bit, and quite frankly, I look at the entire body of work. I look at the entire season, and it's definitely not the season that we all had anticipated. And our offensive struggles have not been about one position group or one guy or whatever. It's been a multitude of issues that we've had, and again last night in that game, we were in a situation where we failed to score as an offense. We failed to score there at the end of the third quarter. We were struggling just a little bit to move the ball. Defensively, they kept us in the game with a couple of takeaways late, and my plan was to get Nate in the game. Nate's a guy that is very capable of running our system and executing, and an opportunity to pull that game out last night. And
yeah, there's the headline in the Washington Post sports section: tanks for everything. And in Philly, they're saying tanks for nothing. But I said it this morning. I'm going to say it now. Doug Pederson, after the game and this morning, both came off as a guy who is delivering a speech that he has rehearsed in the mirror repeatedly, because I just don't buy it. He's saying what he thinks he has to say. He didn't even answer the question. He eventually kind of got around to it, but he didn't get into any of the nitty-gritty of this perception that they deliberately and intentionally chose to lose the game. That's what they did. And if they didn't, they should be offended. They should be on the offensive, not the defensive. They should be loud. They should be in your face. They should be yelling and screaming and sending out statements denying that they would ever undermine the integrity of the game. The mere fact that they're not reacting that way, Charean, tells me they did it. They knew what they were doing. Now, fundamentally, look, I was upset last night about it, primarily because I was upset with myself for not seeing that it was coming. I allowed myself to buy into the hype of game 256, and it's a special game, and you're going to go out there and you're going to play hard. And we're going to have the highest level of regular season competition. It's a playoff play-in game, and it never occurred to me. It was stuck in the blind spot on each side mirror for me that the Eagles were going to say, well, you know what, screw it. We'd rather have the 6th overall pick than the 9th overall pick. That's what I'm upset about, because I get it. I've been saying for years, who cares about the difference between 5-10-1 and 4-11-1? Who cares? That gives you nothing. Getting the 6th overall pick gives you something.
Well, and Mike, I think they would have lost anyway. I don't think they were going to win that game. I mean, Washington kept trying to give it to them, obviously, but it didn't work. And I do think they eventually would have lost. I don't feel sorry for the Giants. I mean, win more games. This is a horrible division. They shouldn't even, division champions shouldn't even be going on to the postseason. But Washington ended up being the best team in the division. And I think if you have to have one of those teams go, then it was definitely Washington. So I don't feel any sadness for the Giants at all. Go win more games is what I would say to New York Giants today. But I keep going back to, and I watched it last night, the Jason Kelce video from the middle of December, when he talked about winning and the integrity of the game, and that's what you do. You go out and you play the game to win. And I'm just wondering how you go back in that locker room as a coach and you try to sell to your team that that's not what we did and we're looking to the future of the franchise and all those sorts of things. I just don't know how you build that back within your team. And I think going forward, this could be a problem within that locker room of those guys who are there again next year.
That's what I was told by somebody who's been involved in the NFL for over 30 years last night, that it makes sense to do it, but you lose something culturally when you actually do it. And it's one thing for a team that is in position to get the first overall pick to suddenly decide we are going to do our best to grab that brass ring by falling off of the horse and blowing a double-digit second-half lead like the Buccaneers did Week 17 in 2014 when they were up 20-7 in the fourth quarter, pulled half their starters and lost the game and got the rights to Jameis Winston. I guess that was the punishment from a karma standpoint, the Jameis Winston 5 years in Tampa. But it's one thing to do that when you have a team that's going to be gutted anyway. This is an Eagles team that just, the way they would tell it, needs a retooling. Well, now you've got to rebuild your credibility with those veteran players that are wondering why what are we doing here? Why, and again, it's the setting. It's that game 256. It's a game that has direct relevance to Washington and the Giants. And we were led to believe, just by the circumstances, the Giants and the Cowboys have the elimination game at 1 o'clock Eastern. Well, that game ultimately means nothing if Philadelphia isn't going to try to beat Washington. And I think that's what made football fans upset. We were led to believe that last night's game was going to mean something all the way through. And then when all of a sudden it didn't. I remember getting the text message from you because I was up here in the studio, and we had just done a digital discussion with Tony Dungy, Rodney Harrison, and Mike Tirico, and we saw on the monitor, just as we finished, the 4th and goal play. And we were trying to figure out why they would go for it, 4th and goal, down 17-14, and Tony said, well, I guess it's the analytics telling you got to go for it there instead of taking the tie, and we couldn't process it. And then I got the text message from you, oh, my God, I can't believe they're going to put Nate Sudfeld in the game, and I was flabbergasted. And again, I was upset with myself at the end of the day because I didn't see it coming. It makes sense, but I don't think anybody saw it coming last night, including the NFL. I mean, moving forward, the lesson to be learned by the NFL is when you're picking that game, just because you found the one game that on paper has playoff ramifications that survive the other 15, you better be damn sure that the other team has something to play for because the same thing could happen in the future.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.